Hello.
Hi, lovely. How are you?
Right. How are you?
Good. I need to tell you like the wildest, coolest thing that was happening. So I was just kind of breathing into like the space, right? We're going to come together. And all of this information started like pouring in to me. And honestly, what it was a full, complete, like energetic calibration. Like I had to rise to like meet you in this space, and I was ready and prepared. So it was like almost like it just opened. It was like, bloop, 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 bloop. And then I rise up and it's like I'm fully calibrated to you. It's fucking wild. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my God. Okay. So I have been watching your TikToks recently and I'm like, this bitch, like this is like honestly, I cannot describe how well you have put the voice to the truth. And I'm like, it is just like gonna flow from here. I've been like, every single time you come up on my feed, I'm like, I'm blown away. So this makes total sense to me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited. It was just the coolest thing. It would just like it was just immediately like all this info flowing. It was awesome. But that speaks to your right, the work that you've done and where you brought yourself, that like you're at this level where like women have to rise or they don't even enter your space, you know?
Yeah. I wrote a post about that yesterday actually as well, around like mentorship and around how just lots of different things. But like with mentors, one of the things that people do, even I used to do, is I used to want to pull them down and grab the energy and pull it down to my sphere. And what I realized was I actually have to just rise up to them and allow myself to do life with them. Like it's a very big vibrational, different type of energy. So you're also describing that in another way as well, which is just the tits.
I think that we have like cosmic forces that are helping us come together. Cause you know, I reached out like 6 months ago, right? And it didn't
work.
connect, right?
Yeah, the timing is so perfect. Yeah,
it is. So I have a few things that I want to talk about. I think what makes this so special for me is I found you like a couple years ago, like I think before you had even hit 6 figures. So when you're able to like watch a woman's journey, like from kind of near the beginning, right? Because you've been at it 3 years. So I think I caught you kind of at the beginning, and to watch this, it's been like the joy of a fucking lifetime, like to just witness. Yeah. Because sometimes we catch people, right? People are coming into your world now.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't think it's as special when you catch a woman on the way up. Like that's the specialness.
I agree. And you have that connection that you wouldn't otherwise have, like for people who've, and they almost, I find the people that come in now kind of almost, some of them feel kind of like a little bit impostery or like, oh, I couldn't do that. But the people who've been there, you know, the first few thousand people that were there who have seen this growth are like, oh my God, like literally I can do this too. There's no reason that this couldn't be me, which I think is so fucking special. So yeah, I'm just so excited about all the things. This is just, I'm so glad that you've been following for ages and you have that connection, that you've seen it all. And it's really, yeah.
So the other piece too is like, I'm wondering like how you're just such a fucking rock star. I listened to that I saw that mentor post that you're talking about. And I'm interested in like, you talk about like, you fucking mentored yourself. Like we hire these people and we get in their space and we learn from them. But the honest truth, like you can listen all day long and you can sit in a master class and you can buy a course and whatever, but like the work, nobody can do that except you. And I think that's where you really have mastered. And your transparency is what I'm fucking in love with. You show all of it. And that's what a real woman is. You're everything.
Yeah, we're everything at once. We'd have to be limited. And it's just lies to think that we are going to be less, you know, all these lies around like, I have to put this perfect image across, or like shit hit the fan this week with my kids or with my business or with a client or with my family. Like it's just, it's ludicrous to think that everything is too perfect. Like that's not the matrix of this world that we play in. Like that's not a real reality. So yeah, the quicker we let that die, which is our ego, the quicker this will all happen. Yeah.
And I think you're so fucking relatable. Like, that's why I saw me and you. Like, here, I have 3 children, married 20 years, right? So I saw, right? Like, I saw so much of like, here, she did it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only because you show all of it. Here's me when no one showed up. Here's me in my messiness. Here's me in my, you know, my dysfunctional marriage. And here's how we healed it. And here's all of me. And I need to celebrate you for that. I just have so much honor and respect for a woman. And I also, as a leader, like, I play all of that. Here's all of me, because it's unfair when women don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so important.
I see so much in you, and I'm sure some stuff probably come through, but like on you honestly blow me away with your energy and who you are. I can't even, it's not just the words as to how you capture. This is not something, by the way, I just want you to know, like, this is not something that I come across very often. So this is, you know, but just whatever. So it's not just the words as to how you've captured like the wealthy woman, like on your TikToks and stuff, like what they believe and how they're feeling and what they're doing. It's so much more than that. And I don't even really have the proper human words, to be honest, but I see so much in you, and it's, don't even really have the words. Like, I guess I'm seeing a lot of similarities of myself and you. Like, it's just phenomenal. I didn't even know you have kids. How old are your kids?
3. I have a 9-year-old son. Yeah. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old daughter.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were like in your early 20s.
Oh, bless your heart.
I know. People are like, you know, I still get ID'd, and I'm like, that's the Botox, but okay.
Yeah. No.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, I love it. Okay.
And 20 years with my partner. So it's like, that's a whole, you know, we can have a whole different convo about that, right? Especially a woman on a spiritual journey and being a strong self-led woman. Yeah. Your man has to be like a certain kind of man, right? To like be able to hold that energy of that woman, you know? So I have so much respect for your husband, just kind of knowing you, like, it speaks volumes about who he is to be able to hold that and be the leader of the family, right? In that sense too.
Absolutely. Like, it's just, I was speaking with another client just before about you know, she ended up, she's also manifested wellness journey, and she ended up splitting with her partner. But, you know, we resonate with that same journey in regards to, like, you have to decide this for yourself, and you have to decide that you're doing it no matter what, and they can get off the train if they want to, like, whether you're a manifestor or not. Like, you have to do it for yourself, because we've been so repressed for such a long time that it just, you know, we have to do it because it's our mission, you know, and it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, not even knowing your husband, I know what kind of man he has to be, because I know what it takes to hold me, you know. Special men. So I want to talk, or have you kind of share about being a self-led woman. And then also, I'm really interested in what surprised you, right? When we're in this spot, right? When you call it precipitating, right? Where we're creating it within before it bubbles over into the physical. So what surprised you? Because we can imagine and we can feel, but then when we're actually like living it out in the 3D, what are some things that like you weren't expecting, didn't know, you know what I'm talking about? Like the surprises of like, we imagined it, but it's a little bit different in the 3D realm.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. There's a bit, like, do you want me to tell you now?
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay. So yes. Okay. So the very first thing was, it's actually, this is an interesting one to say. So it's in some ways actually a lot easier than we thought it was going to be. in other ways it's a lot harder, but like when it actually happens, you're like, oh, that was actually quite effortless. And one of the reasons why I know this to be true is because as a divine feminine, we get to receive just because we get to receive. It's not because of something we've fucking done. It's just because it's who we are. And we're within this matrix where it gets to be like that. Like the fruit happens just because it happens, not because the tree was like thinking about making it happen, right? Like there's no thought involved. So we get to be a lot more functional within like the organic form, you know what I mean? Like within this organic orchestration of this earth. Another thing, probably a little bit later on in my journey, was the projections that I would receive that really shocked me, I guess, because I would say I managed to dodge all the bullets potentially, or I just thought I was like really lucky because a lot of people around me were like, oh, this happens, and mentors or other people and other programs or masterminds and stuff that I was in, like, they would share about things. I'm like, oh, it's not happened to me. Yes, it must have like the perfect vibration or some shit. Turns out it wasn't. It just wasn't my time yet to receive everything has its own divine timing. But I'd had so many people before me model how they move through things that really helped me. And there was another thing, but I can't remember what it was. So yeah, those are the two big.
I want to like fully receive. It's such a compliment for you to say like those words to me. I just like that I fully receive that, and it lands. And if words ever do come, please reach out, because you just got the fucking galactic portal open to the heavens. So like, I know the words will drop in. You'll be like, that's it. I gotta tell her, because I'm interested in your perspective. And what I used to love about some of your posts and things, you talk a lot about the guides, and I'm interested in what your interpretation of that is from the human, right? We're trying to simplify some complex shit through a human experience. So what's your interpretation of what do you feel when you get that communication?
If you'd asked me this question 6 months ago, I would have given you a very different answer, actually. And this is the first time I'm actually talking about it with anyone, actually, except like my partner. So I was born a very spiritually activated child and received a whole lot of things, which from following me for a long time. But for anyone else who doesn't know who I am, I always communicated with, especially the fae when I was very young, so pixies and fairies and gnomes, and the way I saw it. So I have all the clairs, like I looked into it once, all the like every single one clear. I have like the top three are the seeing, knowing, hearing, and feeling. So those are my top ones. But the way I described it as a child was I saw this whole world, right? Like the grass and the trees and the houses, but stacked directly on top of it was a whole nother world that other people couldn't see. That's the way I described it as a very young child. I remember explaining to my father when I was probably about 5 years old. And so I'd always interfaced with a lot of beings and spirits and energies in this world. And also it wasn't until probably around the time we started following, maybe around 2020, that I realized I'd actually also been connecting with, galactic entities my whole entire life. I just had thought maybe they were my thoughts or my feelings, or just something from it wasn't something I was seeing. And so it was really interesting for me to suddenly get that label. And it was really important because my ego, if I'd known that a long time before that, I think my ego would have gone a bit off the rails, or it would have just taken me on a completely different path. So it was really important for the right timing. However, this is how I would have described it 6 months ago. Sorry, I can't mute my laptop. My apologies. So that's how I would have described it 6 months ago. I had a human design reading when I was in London in December last year, so December 2021, done by a guy who traveled around. He's also a manifestor. He's an ego authority manifestor. And he traveled around with Ra, who was the person who downloaded the human design system and actually translated it with all his all the work that he did around the world. So he traveled with him for like 20 years. I had a human design reading done by him, and I would say he's probably like more of an atheist. In fact, he probably actually did use that label, but in case he didn't, but that's how anyway, when I explained to him about my guides and around my journey with my guides and all this stuff that I get, he sat me on my ass, and I honestly, it took me months to really get my head around it. But he said to me, Angharad, this is nothing to do with your guides. This is who you are in your human design. This is your subconscious gates. And I was like my whole human just melted into the ground, being like, wait, this has been me the whole time. And it took me a long time to really hold that energy. And now I think it's a blend. I believe that, we are God, we're a fragment of God. So we are therefore everything and nothing all at once. So, but it really made me, I had this big questioning around even whether I believe in spirituality. It was the craziest journey. So anyway, it's very much a blend of a lot of things. And those are the best human words that I have to describe it. It definitely feels like a knowing, when we go to the clears, right? It feels like a knowing or a feeling or something I hear, but it's not in English. It's translating from French to English or something, and you have to translate it into 3D words. That's how I described it for a very long time. And I still do resonate with that, but it feels like a translation journey, basically.
It's so funny you said that, right? Remember I told you about all the downloads I was getting to calibrate to this meeting? So that came up about your guides, and I instantly knew, I'm like, that's her. The guides are her. And I wrote down the question anyway, but I knew what you just said. I'm like, yes, they are. Yes.
Yeah, and we are. And, this is part of our journey, is that we, with that post I wrote yesterday about not being codependent and mentoring myself, right? We can't be codependent on anything anymore. There's been a huge shift, right? We have to take our power back. We have to mentor ourselves. We have to realize that we are everything. We are creating everything. This world, this matrix is so much more malleable than we were led to believe. A lot of us, as we were being raised up by our parents or by society or the situations that we were in. Do you remember at school? At school, we had this, it was like putty. It was like molding clay, and they had different colors, and you could do different things. I always loved it. And it's that's literally how I experience this framework now, because this physical 3D reality is very much like that. We are molding it even more than we even are consciously aware of, even now at my level. It's so much more. There's always so much more to learn and realize about ourselves.
So did you understand that going through it, or is it something when you got to where you mastered it, you looked back and you're like, I can connect the dots now, having lived it?
My guides told me. It's something my guides told me in 2020, probably very beginning of 2020, was this. And so, or even, probably 2019, 2020, in that sort of time. And very often, so it's very interesting. So a lot of people, with mentors, with their guides, with their downloads, with their knowings, with their desires, whatever it is, we can question it so much. But if you were what the guide said to me at one point, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, was, what would it look like if you actually listened to this as if it was God speaking to you? How would you integrate that into your world? Would you actually do it? Because that's the thing. Most people so far, it's very rapidly changing, but most people will hear something but not actually integrate it, not actually do it, and not actually treat it like it is God exactly speaking to them, right? Whether that's an idea, whether that's something a mentor says, whether that's something you hear on a podcast, it's the integration piece that's the disconnect. And you can trust that every single thing, something you're hearing on this podcast, something you're seeing on Instagram, something you're, reading, something your mentor says, something that you read in a book, right, written by an expert, whatever it is, something from your guides, you can trust that every single step that's in front of you, it's like a, if you're walking across a great abyss, that another step comes across, and you just keep on walking across just by the next step that's there, and integrate that, and the next step, and the next step, and the next step, rather than getting overwhelmed and thinking about you need to be on the other side of the fucking abyss at this mountain that you're trying to reach. Allow yourself to just step on every stone that arrives.
Do you feel like that's what your journey, that's how you became to master, is that? Because I watched you show up like, because not only did I find you in the beginning of the journey, but I actually went back to the very fucking beginning of your like virtual journey, right? The information I could find so that I could watch, I could study, I could watch the whole story unfold. And do you feel like it's just an accumulation of, I watched you show up again and again and again, and I listened to all the podcast episodes, right? Where it was like, you still have episodes, and thank you for keeping them there. You still have it where like, it was the farmhouse scullery, right? And then I got to hear like the rebrand episode, and it's like, your voice is different, right? Your cadence is different. Your tone is different. It's so, so special. So just having been on this like wild ride, do you feel like, I'm wondering your perspective on its accumulation of like very small steps every single day that has gotten you here, or like a few monumental shifts?
It's all of it and none of it at the same time. So, okay, the very first thing is, so when the guides told me I can trust the next step that's put in front of me and just do what you can, that translates to, it's just one step at a time, right? Like, and you do what you can at that day. You know, like normal, like you see a lot of the sort of inspirational, I did it anyway, a lot of inspirational stuff online of being like, just do one, especially when I was healing my depression, just do one thing that's a better move. Or like in the, I'm not very studied with this, but I have had a few clients and had a few people interviewed for podcasts who are trained in NLP, right? Around like the different, oh my, actually, wait, anyway. And there's I've forgotten the proper name, but there's a scale of the emotions, and the bottom is guilt or something, and you work way up. Like, so it's about like stepping from one to the next one. They're stepping stones, right? Like just do one thing. So, you know, and shifting the emotion from one to the other. So that's very much our truth. It takes that. Yes, that is our truth. A second truth is honestly just blind, dumb, childlike faith. Just be dumb. Honestly, just fucking like get out of your head, get into your heart, and just move or cry or bathe in your shit. Like, I had to roll around in my shit for so long until I was ready to move again. And that still happens now. Like, that doesn't go away, because actually one of my clients, oh, hold on, I'll just read you this. One of my clients messaged something to me. Hold on. Just before this call, she said, this is one of my clients, Nat. She said, I was watching something on Instagram last night. I can get the person, she didn't say who it was, about the unbecoming, and maybe becoming our higher self is about unbecoming everything we were ever told in the first place.
Yes, ma'am.
Zinging. Right? So the beginning of this year, I channeled a program called University, and this is exactly what it was about. So many people are trying to raise their frequency and do a better job and earn more money and do all this sort of shit. But what they're doing is they're actually disregarding their human experience. It's meant to be messy. Like I was saying to my partner the other night, like we do some weird shit. Okay. When you grow a plant, are you a gardener? Have you ever been a gardener?
Yeah.
Right. I love gardening. I was like a homesteader when we were farming. Like I absolutely love it. Right. You put shit on a plant. That's fucking weird. Like that is like literally, I used to go get cow shit from the paddocks and put it on the plants, like put it in the soil. Like that is a weird thing to do, right? But it works. Our human is so busy thinking about everything. You have to transcend your thoughts and just be like, honestly, just, I call it blind, dumb, childlike faith. Just do it. Like it's going to feel weird. It's going to like, just do the weirdest things, whether that's break down and cry for 3 days, whether that's go on a solo holiday for a week, whether that's start posting on Instagram, like me, starting a podcast called The Farmhouse Gallery. I look back and go, there's a small part of me that's like, that's so cringe. But I keep it there purposely because it is not about a destination. It's about the fucking journey. I am not ashamed of that part of myself. There's, of course, the narrative of like, oh, that's so cringe. But like the first time I listened to my podcast, I'm not sure if I haven't shared this on my podcast. You may not have heard me say this. Some other people may not have. But the very first time I edited my own podcast and I replayed my own voice, I literally vomited in my mouth at the sound of my own voice.
Wow.
I hated it. it was so messy. But I had to get out of my head. Like, can you imagine how much that would take to get out of your own head to still edit your own podcast and then post it? And the first 4 that I posted were like real deep shit. Like, one was why I'm not divorced yet. I think one was like healing after miscarriage, like some real deep shit that I hadn't even told anyone in my real life, let alone posted it online, and being like to my 157 Facebook friends, because I used to cull every single month, and if I did not talk to them the last 6 months, or I wouldn't talk to them on the street, I would unfriend them on Facebook. I didn't even have Instagram back then, never had Instagram. Like, I think I'd posted like something from Sydney once, but I didn't use Instagram. Like, I was sharing the thing that I vomited at my own voice to my friends on Facebook. I was airing everything. Like, it was weird. It was like putting cow shit on a plant, but I did it because I had to get out of my head. It wasn't a head thing. It was like I just had this blind, dumb childlike faith. Don't know, just have to do it.
The vision I got with your journey and having studied it, because I'm a researcher, I love to study, right, and look for patterns, and was you showed up every day and actually experienced what happened that day and held yourself in it, because you talk about the duality, right? And I think that was like just a really important part of your journey, and even be able to expand into so much success so quickly was holding all of it. And so, right, you show up and you post it, right? You vomit in the mouth, but you keep going and you hold that, right? The vomit, and you go anyway. And then the next day it's a little easier, right? Still challenging. You hold whatever's happening, and then you like repeat. And like that gets you somewhere, right? Because you're literally creating a whole new version of you.
Yeah. And it's messy, but the thing I needed to hear was that you're so multidimensional, right? Like, you can be amazing at being a mum and then shit at doing a podcast, right? And that's okay. And it's meant to be like that. You have like so many different versions of us that we get to hold simultaneously. And this is how, like, honestly, running a multiple 7-figure business is not, it is not just about the front facing things. There are so many back end things that it's a lot. Like, it's honestly, my Capricorn self is like, yes, bitch, we're here for it. My manifestor self is like, why do we do this? And like, it's like this constant battle, right? Like, this stuff, there's so many things that I have learned to hold, because I stopped seeing duality as I'm failing. That's what I was taught, right? That's what maybe not with words, but and then the social media conditioning that we have, if it's not perfect, if it doesn't look pretty, it's like all this stuff. It's not true. If there's something inside you where you feel like you're unworthy, it's a lie. There's no exceptions. There is no exceptions to that rule, okay? If something feels unworthy, if something feels like it's not perfect and it shouldn't be therefore seen and you need to hide it, it's a lie. You are meant to be exactly like the plants, like the trees drop their leaves every single year. The leaves are fucking beautiful, like obviously deciduous ones, but they drop their leaves every single year. They're beautiful. They drop them every single year. Like, what are you looking at within yourself and thinking that like, oh my gosh, something's just died or something's just changed or something's not perfect? Oh my gosh, why are you freaking out about something that's meant to happen? Like, this on this 3D earth plane, things are meant to happen. It's just our human thoughts and the brains and all the things, and we're trying to be a billion steps too far ahead. It's meant to be like this. It's meant to be messy. It's meant to be a shitstorm. It's also meant to be amazing all at the same time, but you have to hold it in your energy field. That's the mastery, is holding it in your all of it, non-judgmentally, in your energy field.
That's one of the calibrations I received. Like with the downloads I got was like that's where you're at. Like it just is, right? Yeah. One of the things that really fascinated me watching you was your pricing. Like and I have screenshots, they're still in my phone, because I was going to go back. I know, because I study women, right? I like legit. And I was amazed how you were like skyrocketing prices. And I was wondering, I'm like, she's just over there having fucking fun. Like, that's what she's doing. She's playing. Like, this is a game. She's mastered it and she's fucking playing the game.
This is a fucking game. If there was nothing else on this planet that proved it more to me, was pricing. Like, honestly, it is the molding thing. It's a game. So when I first launched coaching, you probably know this because you studied it. I mean, my Facebook's actually, I wish I kept my Facebook group now so people can go and see it, but I did delete it. But I had this Facebook group back then called High Vibe Babe, which is a high vibe based community. This is when I still had the Farmhouse Scullery brand, but I wanted to share some more things. So, and that was anyway, that's the reason how I got to brand to the High Vibe Babe in the end. But still, I had this Facebook group and I posted inside the Facebook group, I was charging $250 a month, or 220, something like $250 a month for 4 calls with me, 4-hour-long calls with me, you know, unlimited Voxer, whatever it was back then, probably Facebook support, you know, all my programs, all my masterminds, everything. And I signed a few clients at that. But I was scared shitless. Why would someone pay a uneducated person at 27, however old I was, 28, whatever, then deciding she's suddenly going to be a coach? Why would someone pay me that? Like, that's like, you know, half of someone's wage for a week, or someone's wage for like week for like, why would for 4 hours? Like, why would they pay that? And so that was a mold, right? And then it was something I molded out. I was like, well, I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. And then it jumped to like 888 and people still paid. And I was like, oh, what? And eventually so I just trusted every stepping stone, right, that I was. And eventually what I realized was I was orchestrating the whole fucking stone that was raising up out of nowhere for me to step onto, right? I realized eventually through my thoughts, through the typical manifestation stuff, but I saw it come out in my life, in my real life, specifically with my pricing, that I was orchestrating this whole damn thing. And so I became the evidence for my human that someone would invest a house deposit or a whole ass house in themselves, because I did that first. And now my pricing for a whole year is probably equivalent of a house in New Zealand. It is. In fact, you probably might be able to buy a house for 300,000 New Zealand dollars. You might be able to buy that but still, like that's how much it is now. And it's because I not only learned on the journey of orchestrating the whole thing, but in the real 3D reality, I also did that. I did the moves before it made sense, right? And then I now have the evidence within my human, so I can remind my little human brain, this is possible because you have already done it. You are not even creating something out of nothing. You literally have done this. So that is the evidence that therefore it can happen.
That's beautiful. What is like on your, because I saw you post one thing, like, you know, when we have all these dreams and desires, right? That precipitation, like that's where it's at. Like, it's fun to get the desire, but I really like that climax, right? That participate, like that piece is like where the juice is. I feel like that anticipation, that building. So when you get to these, you know, you made your first 6 figures and then you moved into millionaire status, and then you collapsed time and fucking like multiple millions, right? Within just a couple of months. When you have mastered that realm, and I believe you did a post on this too, but if you can expand, like, where do you go from there?
Great question. So I had like a big time, like around the end of last year. No, even before I had my first second million in 2021, it began to happen where I was like, oh my God, what do I even, it became too easy. That's basically my human. It like came to a point where I was like, oh shit, I'm actually creating all this, like that like, it was like a winding of like, oh fuck, like, oh my God, everything I literally have created this. I'm orchestrating the lifting of the rocks. I'm orchestrating who's coming, who's not coming. How's
fucking
it
wizard over here.
Literally, it was like a moment of like, oh fuck. And then the next thing that came was this massive ego death. And all this timing, you know, the stuff that's happened over the last 2 years with the world, and this is my personal view, no one else has to have this perspective at all. But, you know, once I realized there's all these strings pulling with all this money and the control and everything, and I was like, I don't think I want to be part of this. I thought I was building this, like this is my thoughts at the time. I thought I was building this to help people become free. And then what I realized what I thought I was sitting into a box. Like I wanted to be a billionaire, I wanted to have a private plane, I wanted to be college genius status, I wanted to do all this shit, right? And then I was like, but I don't want to be part of all that. I never want to become part of that system because this whole system is fucked. Like I literally hate it. It's the thing that made me become an entrepreneur in my early 20s, right? Is because I wanted to get out of the system even way before, I started my first business at 21. So I've been an entrepreneur for over a decade now, right? So, it's the reason why I got out of it. And then suddenly once I started climbing, I was like, oh my God, all these people are keeping all these other people entrapped. And so it became this big thing. And then I was like, what am I going to do? So there was a whole lot of pieces that I held and still led and still worked through it, like just like the duality, right? Still held it. We were digital nomads at the time. I really needed grounding, and I had no idea how much I needed grounding until we came back to New Zealand. It has been, and that whole cosmic thing was like just the whole, how it all played out was just unbelievably crazy, but it happened. So one of the things that I've extracted from that time is you are never going to stop growing. And what I also realized was it's not the actual having of the precipitation that we really desire, at least for me. That's what I've extracted in hindsight. It's not actually having the precipitation, it's realizing that we're orchestrating the whole damn thing, right? And that we have the power to orchestrate the whole damn thing. And even when we didn't know we had the power to orchestrate the whole damn thing, we were still orchestrating the whole damn thing. And I'd heard Abraham Hicks talk about this for, I started listening to Abraham Hicks Rampages probably a couple of years ago on YouTube. Amazing. And I heard them talk about it, but it's not until you do it and you really realize it for yourself that you're like, oh, right, this actually is everything. So there was that. And then there's been this big recalibration of values. So for instance, on the front facing of my business this year, I've not really spoken about my income because, and I will probably at the end of the year, that's what I foresee at this stage, but it's because I shared about my income for since I hit 333K in the year, which was in 2020, which was my batshit crazy thing I put on my vision board. Never, like when I put that on my vision board, I was having like not even consistent $1,000 months, like in December 2019. It was 20, yeah, whatever year that was. I think it was 29, whatever year that was anyway. So it was crazy to me. So once it happened, I was like, oh my God, I haven't talked about money because I thought it was so taboo. So then I went through a period of talking about money because I wanted to give people that permission, because I sought that out in my mentors. Like it was the hugest permission slip ever that it was even possible to make $1 million in a year. The very first person that I heard about that was Melanie and Leia. I had no idea that was even possible to make that amount of money as a coach. Like it blew my absolute brain. So it changed my paradigm. But anyway, for my leadership this year, I've decided it's shifting more into my clients' success, but also I know there's a big cosmic journey around like us attaching to the numbers and attaching to, this wealth is not just about money. And I know that's easy to say as a fucking rich white girl now, but like it's so cliche, but on the journey, and I did still sustain those values that I really cared about in other areas of wealth, like freedom and family and health and travel and a lot of things that really mattered to me. But this year has been a lot more around my family, to be honest, like my family life and my clients. So, and I don't even fully know what's going to come at the end of the year in regards to how I will share about this journey, because we're only halfway through and my human's still beginning to understand, but that's the understanding I have currently around it.
No, I noticed that shift in you too. And I remember in the beginning of the year, you talked about this year isn't about me, it's about you guys. So you were shifting the focus onto, your audience and your community and your clients. So because I noticed you have veneers. Have you openly talked about that process?
When people ask me, absolutely. Oh my God, life dream. I can't even, okay. So when I was like, this is another thing, like okay. I had braces when I was a kid. It's something that I've always like I've always wanted. I researched this from the age of like probably 17 or 18. I got professional. So before my wedding, I got married when I was 19. I tried to whiten my teeth. I went and got professionally whitened. Huge investment fee. It was like $500. Unbelievable. My wedding dress was $500. So like as much as a wedding dress I invested to try and fix my teeth anyway. I just what's that word, genetically had yellow teeth. It was just my thing. I could not, whatever, just all the things. So I researched for years, like literally over a decade. I researched. I knew the only thing I could do would be get veneers. And then suddenly when we moved to Nelson from Taranaki, I was like, it's now. I have never been happier about any decision my whole entire life. Like in my whole entire life, I have always wanted white teeth. And it was really funny. Because you see like lots of different people for consultants and stuff. So you see like the design consultant as well as the dentist. And the dentist really didn't want to do it to my teeth because he's like, you have amazing healthy teeth. Like, please don't do this. But you know, I want it. They didn't shave it down because I had brace in my teenage years. I was really amazingly blessed to be able to have that. So it was, they call it what's it called, minimal prep veneers. So they didn't really have to off my teeth, which was amazing. But anyway, the cosmetic person was like, like, how white do you want to go? Do you want to people like know that you've had them, or do you want to be, you know, natural? And I was like, oh, I'm not getting fucking veneers for no one to know that I got, like, this is not like, I don't want to look natural, honey. Like, you know, like this is, I fucking did my dream. Like, this is like, I was obviously not born with teeth this fucking white. That's how white I want them to be. This is not to try and look natural. I'm not going to try and fucking hide that this is something I've always wanted, and therefore I will get it. So anyway, it was one of my like absolute dreams, absolute fucking dreams. And I cannot even, the journey of me allowing myself to do something like that for me is amazing, like absolutely amazing, because of the years of which you would know from my journey of the years of not allowing myself to have anything that I wanted because I was too busy suing everyone else and whatever. So best decision, one of the best decisions of my life, honestly. I'm so happy, like so fucking happy.
I'm so happy for you. That's on my list. And I noticed a lot of women in the coaching industry have gotten some dental work after. I know quite a few.
Really? Oh, where's my drink bottle gone? I didn't know that. I haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not following them, or
maybe it's because it's on my list of things I want. So it's true. I notice. Yeah. Because it's something I desire. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do you notice that your self-care? Like, I know one of the things I loved about you in the beginning was like you had Goddess Day. And it was like this full permission to, like, you know, just care for yourself. I'm wondering how you have elevated that, given that you have, you know, access to funds that, you know, you could get whatever you desire to care for yourself. What does that look like now?
I get a blowout every single week, just because because I can. I go twice a week sometimes. When we were living in the last house before we moved here, I couldn't actually wash my hair in the shower because the pressure, like literally you could barely wash your body. There was like no pressure, and the height of it's like here. So but I literally couldn't have washed my hair because I've got extensions. It wouldn't have rinsed out. It was literally going to be impossible. So I went twice a week then. So that's one of the big things, is like just full permission for me to do, like, it's an integration now. So this, and even this shifted before. So I started getting blowouts every week probably 2 years ago, like way before I was earning million, like way before. So it was like more of an investment. Do you know what I mean? Like I had to really think about it. So, whereas now it's more around like, it's just like I get my nails done, I get my lashes done, I get my hair done because it's just something I decided a long time ago that I really desired. And so I do it. And therefore, if and when that ever changes, it's perfect. It changes and I won't do those things anymore. But it's very much like, it's just a natural part of who I am now. And like without it, I would say like the standard, not that you have to look a certain type of way. That's not what I mean by that. But like still then, like I bought a luxury bag in London. And I probably will never buy any more ever again, because that was a whole journey, but I just It was interesting, very interesting that was actually. But if I ever wanted to, I would. It's like every one of us has our own unique frequency as to what we do desire and what we don't. And very often we have to do something first, like get the lashes or get the extensions or buy the bag or whatever it is, you know, go weekly for a massage, whatever it is, and then test and see and be like, cool, I'll never do that again. Like,
Yes.
or it's becoming every a week thing, you know? Yeah.
You did a post on the bag, I think, or you did a reel or something. I remember you talking about like it being your first luxury purchase. And I was always interested in that, right? Because we have these like big vision, right? When we're tapping into like future self at whatever monetary level. And then when we actually get there, like it's a whole different experience, right? You bought the one bag and you're like, okay. You know, I had that experience. Yeah. And I'm going to choose something else now.
Yeah. When I was in the store, I honestly thought like, oh, cool, I'm going to have a shitload of them. But I really just don't. Like I shared my wardrobe the other day on I think it was my personal account. I'm a minimalist. That's what I realized. It's like, I'm not a maximalist. I'm a fucking bare minimalist, like with stuff in the house, with things. I haven't told anyone this. When we came back to New Zealand and opened up our storage shed, I had a panic attack. Looking at all our stuff, I had a legit panic attack and went, after traveling overseas it started with one bag for 4 of us, one checked-in bag, I'm not shitting you, ended up being like 2.5 by the time we came home, but still for 4 of us, like that's not much stuff. But what I realized was I don't care for stuff. I like a comfy couch, absolutely, but when I saw the storage shed, I was like, what am I doing? Like I can't deal with stuff. So, you know, that was part of the thing for me. But also if tomorrow or in 6 months time, you see me I'm doing a YouTube video of my designer wardrobe with 350 bags, I'm also okay with that, because this is my truth for right now. And next month it could be entirely different, and that's okay. That's one of the things that we like hold ourselves to, I think, is like this also stops us from like making the step to begin with. It's because this like perfected thing where you think it needs to be perfect, and then when it's not perfect, we have shame. And then if we did something and then want to undo it, then they're going to have shame. What I learned on the journey is it's perfect for right now, and tomorrow it might not be anymore, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I love the beauty of you is that you give yourself full and utter permission to be you and to have a full human experience. Mm-hmm. If everybody could just like adopt that one principle, I mean, that's a life changer. Mm-hmm. And one question before I know you have a call. Okay. In the beginning, right? I remember your vision board. I remember your pictures, and it had like the 3 across the front, right? Yeah. What do you think, right? If you're Angharad who's, you know, barely $1,000 a month in the business, and you put that on the vision board, like what's the magic that happened? If you could sum up that, what do you believe that to be looking back?
I'm going to tune in actually and ask what the audience needs to hear, which part, because there could be a million ways I answer this.
Sure.
So, okay. Interesting. Okay. And there's something else. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. The words they said were, it's less about what you think you want and more about what you feel you want, which does relate to also other things that I shared. But, you know, when it comes to like businesses and offers and, you know, creating a business, there's a lot of strategy things that come into building something like this, right? You know, and even just building the life that you want. It's honestly like, get out of your fucking head. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. Like, it's just that, you know, the best. I was speaking to a client just before this about like, you know, you have to get out of your head, because your head is only working within the matrix that it's been taught so far, and it got it this far. You got you this far, but where you're going in the future is no your head has no authority over where you're going, because otherwise it would already have it, right? If your thought process in your head, already, right? Like you have to, and that's the thing that I see within you as well, by the way, because that's the difference for you. Is this probably isn't the best advice for you, maybe, but because like you've tapped into so clearly as to like a wealthy woman, right? And like what she really knows and believes, because you've studied and you've seen the dissonance between where you are or where you were and where you're going. So you might be the exception to the rule for this. So maybe everyone else that is listening might also, there's always many truths, right? And then the second thing was like, honestly, just trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. When it's not working, when no one else believes it, when it doesn't look like it's working, when you think you're crazy, like every single high level leader I've ever worked with has said that they honestly thought they were crazy pretty much the whole way along the journey, but in particular in the beginning, right? Like we always think we're crazy. You have to trust yourself. If you do not trust yourself, it won't work. You have to develop your self-trust. That is the biggest thing that will allow it all to precipitate and for it all to happen. You have to trust yourself.
What a perfect way to end such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for saying yes. I have thoroughly enjoyed, and just even the us coming back together is so special for me. And thank you for such your kind words. They mean so much. I just respect you so much. So for you to share that about me is really meaningful. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for the work you put out. Like seriously, thank you so much for the work you put out. It is changing so many people's lives. That's the other thing too. Okay, hold on. It's changing so many people's lives, the work that we do. And we honestly won't even ever, this is something my guide said to me that I chose to believe, right? With the blind, dumb, childlike faith. You are impacting more people than you will ever know. Ever know. And sometimes, like this podcast, I will then hear that there is you who's been watching me for 2 or 3 years and I didn't know about that, right? But for every one person that you know about, there are 10,000 you don't know about. That's what they said to me. There are 10,000 people that you don't even, it doesn't even have to be 10,000, but and I have had the evidence of this all the time, because people would come into my inbox and say, I've been watching you for years and now I want to mentor with you. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. You've never replied back to my Instagram stories. Like, and I literally don't even know who these people are. Like they've never engaged my stuff. I've not seen this. This is when I had 2,000 Instagram followers. I didn't have 30,000 or something. It's not like I didn't see a lot of likes and stuff that were happening or whatever, this is, it's, your human brain cannot logic this. The reality is, the very big truth is, for every one person you know about, there's 10,000 people that you don't know that you've impacted their lives. It is unbelievable. It's huge.
That's so special to hear too, because it helps us when it doesn't look like anybody's watching and we show up anyway. If we can tap into that belief, like we don't have to see it, but we can know it, and I always create knowing that, like, especially online, this lives forever. So it's like you put it out there and maybe like day one, right? But then what about 5 years from now? How many thousands, millions will it impact, And it's like, so I create from that space where it's like putting my creation out in the world, knowing that it will impact whoever it needs to. And that because I create with such intention, with such purpose, with even my TikToks, all of them are created with such love and and so everything I create, it's like a birth, right? And I just float it out into the cosmos.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly that. I love it. I love it so much. It's so much true.
Thank you so much for your time. I would love to stay in contact if you're open. I mean, just
absolutely.
However.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I hope you have a beautiful day, sweetheart.
You too. Thank you so much.
Right. Bye, love.
Bye.